The forest raged around Lorenzo as he ran. Branches tore at his coat. Roots clawed at his boots. His breath hit the air in sharp, controlled bursts. But nothing slowed him. Not exhaustion. Not blood. Not fear. The only thing he cared about, the only thing that pulsed through every beat of his heart, was Elena. Raphael followed closely behind, but even he couldn't match Lorenzo's pace. He called out once, sharply. "Lorenzo, slow down. You can't fight if you run yourself dead." But Lorenzo didn't stop. He didn't even turn his head. "She's alone," he growled. "And they're coming." Raphael cursed softly but pushed harder, determination etched into his stride. The moon dipped behind heavy clouds, dimming the world to near black. The forest turned into a maze of shadows, but Lorenzo moved like a man who had run through darkness his entire life. He had. Every second stretched too long. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. And in that countdown, Elena's face flickered in front of him over and over, her fear, her trembling, her tear-filled eyes begging him not to leave. He should never have left. He knew that now. Branches snapped behind them. Raphael kept pace, voice low but urgent. "Think, Lorenzo. Valerio won't send a small team. He'll send someone elite. Someone who knows how you move." "I know," Lorenzo said. "Who?" But Lorenzo already had the name in his mind. A man loyal to Valerio. A man rumored to be able to track prey through a storm, a forest, a battlefield. A ghost with a gun. "Silvio," Lorenzo muttered. Raphael stiffened. "Silvio," he repeated. "You're sure? He's the only one Valerio trusts for abductions. And he's the only one who ever slipped past your father's guards." "Yes." "Lorenzo," Raphael's voice dropped. "Then we might be too late." Lorenzo stopped so suddenly the dirt beneath him scattered. He turned slowly, eyes burning with a violence Raphael had rarely seen. "We are not too late," Lorenzo hissed. "I don't care if Silvio is 10 minutes away from her. I don't care if he's outside the door already." His jaw tightened. "I will kill him before he puts a hand on her." Raphael stared at him, then nodded. "Then let's move." They sprinted again through the trees, and after several agonizing minutes, the cabin came into view. Its dark silhouette rising through the trees like a quiet sentinel. But something was wrong. The lights inside flickered. A thin line of smoke curled from the chimney, a fire Elena had not lit. Lorenzo froze, heart lurching. He signaled silently to Raphael, hand raised, palm open. "Stop." They crouched low behind the trees, every sense awakened. There, a shadow near the porch. Not moving. Watching the window. Another shadow circled the side of the cabin, slow and predatory. Elena was still inside. And they were waiting for her to panic, to run, to reveal herself. Raphael whispered, "Two outside. Maybe more." "No," Lorenzo murmured. "Three." He pointed subtly. "One on the roof." Raphael's eyes widened as he saw the faint glint of a rifle scope catching the moonlight between shingles. "They came prepared," he whispered. "They came for her," Lorenzo corrected. His blood felt like fire. He signaled again. Raphael nodded, understanding instantly. They separated. Lorenzo circling wide toward the back of the cabin, Raphael moving through the brush to flank the men near the porch. The forest held its breath. A single twig snapped under Raphael's foot. One of the guards turned. Lorenzo struck. He grabbed the man from behind, one hand clamped over the mouth, the other plunging a knife cleanly into the gap between ribs. The man dropped without a sound. Raphael fired quietly, dropping the one near the porch with a muffled shot. The man on the roof shifted, alerted. He aimed. Lorenzo fired before the sniper could. The body tumbled silently down the roof, hitting the ground with a soft thud. Silence. 3 bodies down. But Lorenzo knew something was wrong. Too easy. Too quiet. He moved to the cabin door slowly, checking every angle, listening for breathing, the rapid kind that comes from fear, or the steady kind that comes from a hunter. He whispered Elena's name under his breath, hoping for even the faintest response. Nothing. His chest tightened painfully. Elena, he whispered again. Still nothing. He unlocked the door slowly. It creaked open. The cabin was dimly lit, the fireplace casting long shadows across the floor. Elena? Lorenzo called, voice low but urgent. No answer. Raphael entered behind him, gun raised. The 2 men scanned the room, sofa overturned, chair knocked over, Elena's bag spilled across the floor. Lorenzo's heartbeat roared like thunder. Elena, he shouted. This time, a sound answered. A faint whimper. From the corner. Lorenzo turned so fast Raphael nearly collided with him. There, behind the fallen shelf, a small shape. Elena? Lorenzo whispered, stepping forward with trembling breath. And then he saw her. Curled tightly on the floor. Hands bound behind her. A cloth tied around her mouth. Eyes wide with terror. A bruise on her cheek. Lorenzo's world snapped in half. He dropped to his knees instantly, hands shaking as he pulled the gag from her lips. Elena, I'm here, you're safe. She gasped for air, trembling violently. El Lorenzo, she sobbed. They were here, they were here. I know, he whispered, voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He cut the bindings from her wrists, but the moment she was free, she flung herself into his arms, clinging to him with desperation. Her body shook against his chest. He held her, pulling her close, burying his face in her hair as his entire world narrowed to the feel of her in his arms. Raphael looked away, giving them a moment. Lorenzo whispered into her hair. I swear to you, Elena, whoever touched you, will not live to see another sunrise. She cried harder. They said if you didn't come back, they'd take me, to him. Lorenzo froze. To who? She shivered. To Valerio. Lorenzo closed his eyes. Slowly. Deeply. He pressed his forehead against hers. It's over, he whispered. I'm here. And I will never let them take you. Her tears soaked his shoulder. Her fingers clutched his coat. Her breath trembled against his neck. For the first time in years, Lorenzo felt something he never thought he would feel again. Fear. Not for himself. Never for himself. But for her. Raphael's voice broke the moment. Lorenzo, he said quietly. We need to go. Lorenzo held Elena tighter. I know. But he didn't move. Not yet. Not until she did. Because tonight had proven something he could no longer deny, Elena wasn't just a weakness. She was everything he had left that still felt human. And he would burn the entire world down before losing her. Elena clung to Lorenzo as though the moment she let go, the world would collapse around her. Her body shook uncontrollably, her breaths shallow and broken, her fingers gripping his coat with a desperation born from pure terror. Lorenzo held her just as tightly. He didn't speak. He didn't rush her. He just held her, solid, steady, a shelter after a night of nightmares. Raphael stood near the doorway, eyes scanning the forest, gun still raised. But even he wasn't immune to the rawness of the scene before him. His expression softened, a rare thing. Finally, after minutes that felt like hours, Elena's breathing slowed enough for her to whisper. "I thought you wouldn't come back." Lorenzo closed his eyes, her words slicing him deeper than any bullet ever had. "I told you I would," he murmured, his voice trembling in a way he couldn't hide. "I told you I'd come back to you." She pressed her forehead against his chest, and he tightened his grip. Raphael cleared his throat gently. "Lorenzo. We don't have long. More will come." Elena jolted, fear flashing across her face again. "No," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please. I can't. I can't go through that again." Lorenzo cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes dark, fierce, and full of a vow she could feel in her bones. "You won't," he said. "I swear to you, tonight was the last time anyone touches you. The last time they come near you." "But Valerio." "Valerio won't touch you," Lorenzo cut in, voice a quiet storm. "He'll never get close enough." Raphael stepped closer, speaking softer now. "Elena, whoever came here tonight wasn't here to kill you. They were here to take you. That means Valerio wants you alive. That buys us time." She didn't look relieved. She looked more frightened. "Why?" she whispered. "Why does he want me?" Lorenzo's jaw locked. He didn't want to say it. He didn't want her to know the truth. Not yet. "Because of me," he said. "Because I came back for you. Because he saw you matter." Elena's eyes filled again, but she shook her head fiercely. "I don't want to be the reason anyone gets hurt." Lorenzo softened. "Elena, you didn't choose this." "I did." The words hung heavily between them. She didn't understand. Not fully. But she knew enough to feel guilt stirring in her chest. Raphael stepped closer to her. "Elena," he said gently, "in our world, people like Lorenzo never get chances like this. Never. And Valerio would destroy anything that makes him human." Elena blinked. "Human," she whispered. "Yes," Raphael said quietly. "You gave him that." Lorenzo shot him a warning glare, but it was too late. Elena had already heard it. She turned to Lorenzo slowly. "Is that true?" He held her gaze, the truth burning in his eyes. "Elena," he whispered, "you are the only thing in my life that isn't covered in blood." Her breath caught. He reached up, brushing a tear from her cheek. "And for that, I would tear down kingdoms." Raphael exhaled sharply. "All right. Enough emotion for one night. We need to move." Elena tensed. "Move? Where?" "I can't, Lorenzo, I'm shaking, I can barely stand." "I know," he said softly. "I know, sweetheart." The word slipped out before he could stop it. "Sweetheart." Elena's chest tightened, but she didn't pull away. Lorenzo continued, voice steady. "But this place isn't safe anymore. They know where it is. They will come again, and with more men." Elena shook her head desperately. "But where will we go?" "I don't have anywhere." "You have me," Lorenzo said firmly. "As long as I'm alive, you have somewhere." Her lips trembled. "And if something happens to you?" Lorenzo stepped closer, framing her face gently in his hands. "Nothing will happen to me," he whispered. "Because I have something to fight for now. Someone." Her breath hitched. Before she could answer, Raphael interrupted. "We leave in the next 10 minutes. I'll start the car." He slipped out the door, leaving them alone in the dimly lit cabin. Elena turned back to Lorenzo, her voice a thread of worry. "What if Valerio won't stop? What if he keeps coming?" "He will," Lorenzo said. "But so will I." He brushed a strand of hair from her tear-stained cheek. And I don't lose what's mine. She froze. Mine. He didn't say it with force or control. He said it with desperation, with a need he hadn't felt in years. Lorenzo, she whispered, not knowing how to respond, her voice trembling between fear and something much deeper. A sound outside made her jolt, Raphael closing the trunk. Lorenzo stepped back slightly, but only enough to give her room to breathe. Elena, he said softly, we're not running. We're relocating. We're going somewhere safer. Somewhere only 3 people in the world know about. Her voice wavered. How can I trust that it will be safe? Lorenzo answered without hesitation. Because I will be there. She swallowed hard. And if they follow us? He leaned down, his forehead touching hers with painful tenderness. Then they die. Her breath escaped shakily. He pulled back slightly, searching her face. As if memorizing every line, every tear, every piece of her. You're safe now, he whispered. But as he held her, Lorenzo knew something he didn't tell her. Valerio wouldn't stop. Not after tonight. Not after seeing her. And somewhere deep in the shadows, far beyond the cabin, Valerio was already preparing his next move. A move that would change everything. The cabin's walls felt as though they were closing in on Elena. The air, still scented with pine and smoke, felt heavy with danger, memories, and the lingering touch of Lorenzo's hands on her face. Every shadow made her flinch, every sound outside made her heart race. Lorenzo didn't leave her side. Not for a moment. Raphael re-entered the cabin, brushing snow and dirt from his coat. The car is ready, he announced. But if we're going to outrun Valerio's men, we need to move now. Lorenzo nodded. Elena, he said softly, take only what you absolutely need. No more. She clutched her small bag. Its contents scattered earlier when the men attacked. Clothing spilled onto the floor, her phone charger tangled with a notebook, and a few petals from her flower shop pressed between the pages of an old book. Elena stared at the mess, feeling overwhelmed. That's everything I have, she whispered. Everything I know. Lorenzo stepped behind her and placed a hand gently on her back. Then take it, he murmured. We're not leaving your life behind, just relocating it. But Elena knew the truth. Her old life was gone. No matter where they ran, nothing would ever be the same again. She bent to gather the scattered items, but her hands trembled so badly she could barely hold anything. Without a word, Lorenzo knelt beside her and helped her gather the pieces, folding her clothes, placing them carefully in the bag, even brushing off the petals and saving them in the book. Elena looked at him, her eyes filling. You don't have to do that. Yes, he said softly, I do. Their hands brushed. Both froze. Something passed between them, a silent truth neither wanted to acknowledge yet both felt deeply. Raphael cleared his throat loudly. If you two are done having a moment, we need to go before Valerio's army shows up. Lorenzo shot him a glare. Elena zipped her bag, stood shakily, and nodded. I'm ready. Lorenzo took her hand. Elena looked down, startled, but didn't pull away. He didn't let go. He led her toward the door, his presence a shield around her, his step steady and protective. The cold night air swept into the cabin as he opened the door, tugging her hair and chilling the tears still drying on her cheeks. The forest felt different now. Not peaceful. Not quiet. It felt like an enemy waiting for its chance. Lorenzo squeezed her hand tighter. You stay between us, he murmured. I walk in front. Raphael watches the rear. Raphael nodded. Let's move. They stepped into the night. The forest swallowed them instantly, dark, dense, and whispering with the wind. The narrow path leading from the cabin was barely visible, lit only by the weak glow of the moon. Elena's heartbeat pounded in her ears. Every branch snap made her flinch. Every gust of wind felt like a warning. Every shadow felt like an intruder. But Lorenzo never released her hand. He walked ahead, tall and unbreakable, each step deliberate. Raphael trailed behind, scanning every direction with cold professionalism. As they reached the car, a sleek black SUV hidden beneath a camouflage cover, Elena couldn't help the question that rose in her mind. "Where are we going?" she whispered. Lorenzo opened the passenger door for her. "To a place only two people know about," he replied. "A place even Valerio wouldn't dare step foot." Raphael climbed into the driver's seat. "If he does," Raphael muttered, "he'll leave in pieces." Elena swallowed hard. Lorenzo climbed into the back beside her instead of sitting in front. He wanted to be near her. To watch her. To protect her. To reassure himself she was safe. The engine rumbled to life. Elena jumped slightly. Lorenzo immediately placed a hand on her knee, a simple touch, grounding, firm. "I'm here," he said softly. She nodded, her breath unsteady. The SUV pulled onto the narrow path, headlights barely piercing the blackness of the forest. The trees loomed tall and silent, like watchers of a secret they shouldn't have seen. Minutes passed in heavy silence. Elena's hands clenched the seatbelt. Lorenzo watched her closely. "It's okay to be scared," he murmured. "Anyone would be." "I'm not scared of the forest," she whispered. He tilted his head. "What then?" She lifted her eyes to his. "I'm scared of what I'm becoming in your world." The words hit him harder than any bullet. "Elena," he whispered. She continued, voice cracking. "I don't recognize myself, running through the night, hiding, fearing for my life. This isn't who I am." Lorenzo's expression softened painfully. "I know," he murmured. "And I will do everything I can to make sure this ends. You don't belong in violence. You don't belong in fear." Her next words were softer, but deeper. "Then why can't I walk away?" Lorenzo inhaled sharply. She didn't realize what she was saying. Or maybe she did. Raphael coughed awkwardly from the front. "Well, if you ask me, it's because you're both." "Raphael," Lorenzo warned, voice cold. Raphael snapped his mouth shut. The car continued through the forest until the trees began to thin. Elena felt her heartbeat gradually slowing, until something appeared through the windshield. A checkpoint. A metal gate. Security cameras. Armed guards dressed in black. Elena stiffened. "Lorenzo." "It's all right," he said calmly. "They're mine." The car slowed. The guards stepped forward. Recognizing Lorenzo instantly. Their expressions changed from alert to sharp respect. One guard nodded deeply. "Sir." Lorenzo nodded back. Raphael rolled down the window. "She's with us." The guards exchanged a look. Then stepped aside. The gate opened. As the SUV drove through, Elena stared out the window. They weren't entering a hideout. They were entering a fortress. Surrounded by tall stone walls, guarded towers, secure systems, and a mansion in the distance that looked nothing like anything she expected from a man who hid in shadows. This was not a safe house. This was Lorenzo's stronghold. His domain. His kingdom. And she was being brought straight into the heart of it. Elena whispered. "Lorenzo, what is this place?" He leaned closer, his voice a soft vibration against her ear. "My home," he said. Her breath caught. "And from this moment on, yours too." The SUV rolled deeper into the compound, its tires crunching over the gravel-covered drive. Elena pressed herself against the window, absorbing every detail through wide, disbelieving eyes. This place, this fortress, felt like something out of a different world entirely. Massive stone walls rose around them, their surfaces lit with security lights that washed the area in a cold, silver glow. Watchtowers loomed, each manned by guards dressed in black tactical gear, silent and unmoving. Movement flickered from the corners of her vision, more guards on patrol, dogs being walked, men checking equipment. A syndicate of shadows, moving with discipline and purpose. This was not Lorenzo's safe place. This was Lorenzo's power. His kingdom in the dark. His empire hidden from the world she once knew. Elena swallowed hard. "Lorenzo," she whispered, voice trembling. "This isn't a home. This is something else." He watched her carefully, searching her face for fear, shock, disbelief, anything. "Does it scare you?" he asked softly. She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes moved from the guards to the towers to the mansion ahead, a structure of dark stone and steel, cold yet strangely magnificent. "It overwhelms me," she admitted. "I've never seen anything like it." Lorenzo's voice lowered. "This place is mine. Every stone, every wall, every guard. No one enters without my permission. No one leaves without my knowledge." She turned to him. "And now, I'm inside it." His eyes softened in a way she hadn't expected. "Yes," he whispered. "You are." Raphael cleared his throat from the front. "Welcome to the Marconí estate," he said in a tone far too casual for the moment. "Try not to run. The guards don't like surprises." Elena's breath hitched. "Raphael," Lorenzo warned quietly. "Hey," he muttered, just trying to prepare the poor girl. The SUV rolled to a stop in front of the mansion. Two guards approached, but when they saw Lorenzo, they stepped back and bowed their heads respectfully. The door opened. Cold air swept inside. Lorenzo stepped out first, then offered his hand to Elena. She stared at it, hesitating, uncertain. But then she placed her trembling hand into his. His fingers tightened around hers, firm, grounding, steady. "Stay close," he murmured. "No one will touch you here. Not even by accident." Elena nodded. Her steps felt small compared to the vastness of the mansion's entrance, where massive doors of dark oak towered above them, carved with intricate Italian designs she didn't understand. Raphael walked ahead, pushing the heavy doors open. Warm light spilled out from inside. The contrast stunned her. Outside was military precision, cold and hard. But inside was something else entirely. The interior glowed with soft golden light. Marble floors gleamed like polished ice. A grand staircase spiraled upward, its wrought iron railing shaped into elegant vines. Paintings hung on the walls, ancient, priceless, full of history she had never studied. Elena stepped inside as though entering a dream. Or a nightmare. She wasn't sure which yet. "This," she whispered, "this is your home?" Lorenzo exhaled slowly, watching her reaction with a tenderness he never showed anyone else. "It is," he said. "But it's not what you think." She turned toward him, searching his eyes. "What do you mean?" He glanced around, his expression changing, deepening into something more, pained. "I built this place to protect my family," he said softly. "Before everything fell apart." Elena's breath caught. "Your family." He hesitated, then spoke. "My father died when I was young. My mother not long after. My brother was killed in a war with Valerio's men. I inherited everything far too soon." Elena's heart clenched. She reached toward him, automatically, instinctively. But stopped, unsure if she had the right. Lorenzo stepped closer, closing the distance she hesitated to cross. He took her hand again. "My home is a fortress because it needed to be," he said. "For them. For what was left of my world." She held his gaze. "And now, for me?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "Yes." Her chest tightened painfully, not with fear, but something warmer, deeper, more dangerous. Raphael clapped his hands loudly, breaking the moment. "All right, lovebirds. We need to talk strategy before Valerio sends his entire army." Lorenzo shot him a look sharp enough to silence a room. Raphael sighed. "Sorry. Too soon." "Yes," Lorenzo said flatly. Elena's cheeks warmed as she looked away. Lorenzo guided her farther into the mansion, his hand never leaving hers. They passed elegant hallways, guarded doors, and rooms filled with antique furniture and quiet secrets. Finally, he led her into a smaller lounge room. A private space with soft lighting, a fireplace burning low, and a large leather sofa. It felt warmer. More intimate. More human. "This is where you'll stay tonight," Lorenzo said gently. "There's a bedroom through that door. A bathroom. Clothes if you need them." Elena stared at him. "And you?" He looked down for a moment, then back at her. "I'll be nearby. I won't leave this room until you're asleep." She opened her mouth to speak, fear mixing with longing. But Raphael suddenly stepped inside. "Lorenzo," he said urgently, "we have a problem." Lorenzo tensed. "What now?" Raphael handed him a phone. A message came through. From Valerio. Elena's heart stopped. Lorenzo took the phone, jaw tightening as he read. Raphael broke the silence. "What does it say?" Lorenzo's eyes darkened. "He knows we're here." Elena gasped. No, that's impossible. We just got here, how could he?" "He's been watching," Lorenzo said, voice low and dangerous. "He knew I'd bring you somewhere safe. Somewhere impenetrable." "What does the message say?" Raphael pressed. Lorenzo lifted his eyes. Words cold as steel. He says, "Enjoy your fortress, Marconí. Walls won't save her." Elena felt the blood drain from her face. Raphael swore under his breath. Lorenzo's gaze shifted back to Elena, full of fury, fear, and a promise that shook her to her core. "No one," he whispered, "will ever get past me to reach you." But Elena trembled. Because Valerio had just made something clear. He wasn't afraid of Lorenzo. He wasn't afraid of fortresses. He wasn't afraid of walls. He wanted her. And he was coming. Silence fell over the room like a heavy curtain. Elena stood frozen, her fingers curling into the sleeve of her shirt as if anchoring herself to reality. Lorenzo lowered the phone slowly, his eyes never leaving hers, dark, dangerous, and burning with a fury she'd never seen before. Raphael paced near the doorway, muttering curses under his breath. "This isn't possible," he snapped. "No one should know this location. We erased every trail." Lorenzo's jaw tightened, the muscles in his neck straining. "They didn't track us here physically," he said quietly. "They anticipated the move." Raphael paused. "Meaning?" "Meaning Valerio knows me better than most men ever dared." Lorenzo met Elena's gaze again. "He knew I'd bring you somewhere safe. Somewhere I trust." Elena's voice trembled. "So he knows your patterns." Lorenzo shook his head. "He knows my instincts. He knows my fears. And now he knows my weakness." Her breath caught. Her chest tightened. "Me," she whispered. Lorenzo didn't soften the truth, he respected her too much for that. "Yes," he said. You. Raphael threw his hands up. Fantastic. So the psychopath knows exactly where you feel something. Raphael, Lorenzo warned. No, I'm serious, Raphael cut in. He's provoking you. That message? It's meant to haunt you. To make you slip. He wants your rage to get ahead of your reason. Lorenzo remained silent, but his eyes revealed he already knew this. Elena stepped closer, her voice trembling. What does he want with me? Why me, Lorenzo? I don't understand. Raphael sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. It's not about who you are. It's about who you are to him. Lorenzo lifted his eyes toward hers, and that single moment said everything. Elena felt the truth strike her like lightning. You aren't just protecting me, she whispered. You care. Lorenzo inhaled sharply. He didn't deny it. He didn't look away. He stepped closer, his voice low. I didn't expect you. I didn't want this. His hand hovered near her cheek. But I can't ignore it anymore. Her heartbeat stumbled. Raphael made a noise. I'll go stand outside. Or jump off the balcony. Anything. Just carry on. Lorenzo shot him a glare that could start a war. Raphael smirked and slipped out, closing the door behind him. When it shut, the room seemed to shrink, leaving only Lorenzo and Elena in the warm glow of the fireplace, alone with the truth neither had asked for but both felt deeply. Elena whispered, Lorenzo, your world is terrifying. Violent. I'm not part of it. I don't belong here. Lorenzo stepped closer until his warmth brushed her skin. No, he said softly. You don't belong in any of this. But you belong with me. Her breath caught. A single tear escaped down her cheek. You don't know that, she whispered. He brushed the tear away with his thumb. I do, he murmured. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Her voice cracked. And because of that, Valerio wants me. A shadow passed over Lorenzo's face, dark, sharp, deadly. Valerio wants to take from me what he thinks I care about, he said. He always has. It's how he breaks his enemies. Elena swallowed. Has he done it before? Lorenzo hesitated. Then he nodded. Yes. Pain flickered in his eyes, old, buried, poisonous pain. Years ago, he took someone from me. Someone innocent. Someone who trusted me to keep them safe. His voice lowered. I lost them. I lost everything. Elena felt her heart twist. Who? She whispered. He closed his eyes. My brother. She froze. Your brother. Lorenzo nodded once. He was targeted because I cared for him more than my own life. Valerio knew that. And he used it. His voice darkened. I will not let him use you. Not now. Not ever. Elena's breath shook. A part of her wanted to run. Another part, the deeper part, wanted to step closer. She took a small step toward him. So what happens now? She asked. He exhaled slowly. Now, he said, I fortify this place. I prepare for war. And I protect you with everything I have. Elena's voice trembled. Where will I be? Lorenzo's eyes softened. With me, he whispered. Always. She felt heat bloom in her chest. Fear twisted with something she didn't want to name yet, something too fragile to speak aloud. Lorenzo reached for her hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His fingers closed around hers, warm, strong, tethering her to something she never knew she needed. Elena, he said softly, I know this is overwhelming. But listen to me, no fortress, no war, no enemy will ever reach you while I'm breathing. Her voice was barely a breath. And if they try? His thumb brushed her knuckles gently. Then they die. A shiver ran through her, not of fear, but of the certainty in his voice. The certainty that this man, dangerous and broken and fierce, would burn the world for her. Before she could speak, Raphael burst back into the room, breathless. "Lorenzo, there's more." Lorenzo stiffened. "What now?" Raphael held up another phone. He sent a second message. Lorenzo's jaw clenched. "What does it say?" Raphael hesitated. "Lorenzo. You're not going to like this." "Elena," Lorenzo said quietly, "stay behind me." Raphael handed him the phone. Lorenzo looked. His eyes widened, then darkened into a storm. Elena's stomach dropped. "What is it?" she whispered. Lorenzo handed her the phone. Her breath caught. Because on the screen was a photo. Her flower shop. Taken an hour ago. Surrounded by Valerio's men. And beneath it, the message. "Everything you love, Marconí. Piece by piece." Elena's blood ran cold. Lorenzo's voice was pure steel. "This ends now." He took a step toward the door. Raphael grabbed his arm. "Lorenzo, this is what Valerio wants. He wants you to come to him. Alone." Lorenzo turned, eyes blazing. "Good," he said. "Because I'm done hiding." He looked at Elena, a single, fierce, unspoken vow in his gaze. "I will end this," he whispered, "for you." The room felt like it had been drained of air. Elena stared at the photograph on the phone screen, her heart twisting painfully. Her flower shop, her sanctuary, her safe little corner of the world, now surrounded by armed men dressed in black. Her life. Her memories. Her peace. Violated. Destroyed. Lorenzo's fingers tightened into fists so hard his knuckles turned white. His jaw flexed sharply, and a quiet rage poured off him like heat from a wildfire. Raphael watched him cautiously. "Lorenzo," he said slowly, "you need to breathe. Think." But Lorenzo wasn't hearing him. He was seeing red. Seeing violence. Seeing everything Valerio had taken, and everything he still threatened. Elena stepped forward, voice trembling. "Lorenzo. I don't want anyone hurt because of me. Please don't." He turned sharply and took her hands in his, not rough, but desperate. "Elena," he said, voice low, "look at me." She looked up, eyes filled with fear, confusion, guilt. "You didn't cause this," he continued. "Valerio did. He chose this war. He brought it to your door. Not you." "But it's my shop," she whispered, tears building again. "My home. My life. They were there because of me." "They were there because of me," Lorenzo corrected, his voice growing softer. "Everything he's doing to get to me. To break me." Elena swallowed hard. "Then don't give him what he wants." Lorenzo's jaw tightened as he absorbed her words. Raphael stepped between them. "She's right," he said. "Valerio wants you angry. Reckless. Emotional. That's how he gets inside your head." Lorenzo glared. "He's already inside my city. He's already touched what's mine." Raphael nodded, unflinching. "But if you walk into his trap tonight, you won't get a chance to retaliate." A long, tense silence hung in the air. Lorenzo finally exhaled sharply and ran a hand through his hair, pacing the room like a caged predator. Every step radiated impatience, fury, and something else, fear. Raw, unfiltered fear. Elena could feel it. Not for him. For her. She stepped toward him again. Lorenzo, please. Sit. Think. Her voice, soft, shaking, earnest, did something to him. His breathing slowed. His pacing stopped. He turned to her, eyes stormy. Elena, he whispered, if anything had happened to you, if I had come back and found you gone. He shut his eyes. I would have burned the world to find you. Her throat tightened. Raphael exhaled loudly. All right. Decisions need to be made, and we need to make them fast. He stepped closer to the table and unfolded a map. The same one from earlier, now marked with fresh red lines. Here's the situation, Raphael began, tapping the paper. Valerio has men at Elena's shop, but that's a decoy. He wants attention there to pull you toward it. Meanwhile, he's moving his real team into position, most likely around the city's outskirts, waiting for you to leave this fortress. Elena felt her heart sink. It's a trap, she whispered. Raphael nodded. A perfect one, if we fall for it. Lorenzo's eyes darkened. But you know me, Raphael. I don't fall for traps. Raphael gave him a look. You do if Elena is involved. Silence. Lorenzo didn't deny it. Raphael continued sharply. You love her. Whether you've realized it or not, Valerio sees it. And he will use it to destroy you both. Elena gasped softly. Love? Lorenzo stiffened, but didn't speak. Raphael pressed on. So we choose strategically. Not emotionally. Lorenzo crossed his arms. Then what's your strategy? Raphael pointed to the map again. We reinforce the estate. Triple the guards. Double the snipers. No one gets inside without bleeding for it. And? Lorenzo asked. And, Raphael said, we hit Valerio where he's weakest. Not at the shop. Not at his decoys. At his real base. The one he thinks is hidden. Elena's eyes widened. You know where it is? Raphael smirked. I have my talents. Lorenzo stepped beside him. How many men? 20. Maybe 30. Good, Lorenzo murmured. It won't be enough. Raphael looked up sharply. You're planning to strike tonight? Yes. Alone? No. Raphael raised an eyebrow. Then who? Lorenzo turned toward Elena. And she froze. No, she whispered. No, I can't fight, I can't. He shook his head. Not with me, he said softly. With the guards. You'll be here. Under protection. You won't leave my sight again unless I'm beside you. Elena swallowed. But you will leave mine, she whispered, heart twisting painfully. Lorenzo stepped toward her, slow, deliberate, eyes locked on hers. Elena, he said softly, if I don't stop Valerio now, he will never stop coming after you. Her breath shook. But what if you don't come back? He reached up, cupped her cheek, and leaned close, so close she could feel his breath. I will, he whispered. Because I have someone to come back to. She felt tears sting her eyes. And if Valerio? Elena. His voice softened. Calmed. Reassured. I'm not my father. I'm not my brother. I don't die for my enemies. I kill for the ones I love. She stopped breathing. Love. Again. But this time, he didn't take the word back. He didn't deny it. He didn't correct it. Because he meant it. Raphael cleared his throat, eyes flicking between them. Well. I guess that's settled. Tonight, Valerio learns what it means to threaten something Lorenzo actually cares about. Lorenzo didn't look away from Elena. "I won't let him touch you again," he whispered. "Not your shop. Not your past. Not your life." Elena felt something crack open inside her. Not fear. Not shock. Something deeper. But before she could speak, before she could tell him what she was feeling, the door burst open. A guard rushed in, breathless. "Sir, Valerio just sent another message." Lorenzo stiffened. "What is it?" The guard handed him a single slip of paper, delivered somehow inside the walls. Raphael's face paled. "That shouldn't be possible." Lorenzo unfolded it. Elena watched his face change, fury, then fear, then something darker. He handed the note to Elena with trembling fingers. Her eyes scanned it. Just 5 words. "I want her alive. Tonight." Elena's knees nearly gave out. Lorenzo caught her instantly, pulling her against him. Raphael swore violently under his breath. Lorenzo whispered against Elena's hair. "Then he dies tonight." The note slipped from Elena's trembling fingers and fell to the polished floor like a fallen leaf. Lorenzo didn't look at it. He didn't need to. Those 5 words had already carved themselves into his mind with fire. "I want her alive. Tonight." Elena felt the room spinning. 1,000 fears clawed at her chest, fear for her shop, fear for her safety, fear for the man holding her. She pressed her hands against her temples, trying to breathe, trying to piece herself back together. But Lorenzo could see it, the panic rising too quickly. "Elena," he whispered, stepping closer and cupping her face, "look at me." Her eyes darted to his instinctively. He softened his touch, thumbs brushing away the tears she hadn't realized were falling. "You are safe," he said, voice low but fierce. "He's not touching you. Not tonight. Not ever." Elena swallowed hard, her breath shuddering. "But he's inside the estate," she whispered. "The note, the guards, someone helped him." Raphael's jaw tightened. "She's right," he said grimly. "Someone inside your ranks let the message through. And when I find who," Lorenzo growled, "I'll make an example out of them." A tense moment hung in the air before Elena spoke again. "What if he comes himself tonight?" Lorenzo's eyes sharpened like a blade. "Then he dies by my hands." Elena shivered, not from fear of Lorenzo, but from the raw certainty in his voice. He wasn't boasting. He wasn't threatening. He was promising. Raphael ran a hand through his hair, muttering curses. "This isn't a normal attack," he said. "This is personal. Valerio doesn't send handwritten notes. He doesn't send messages at all. This is different." "What do you mean?" Elena asked. Raphael exhaled. "He wants attention. He wants Lorenzo to feel hunted. He wants you to feel hunted. He's stirring emotion, yours and his, so he can manipulate the outcome." Elena closed her eyes briefly. "Because of, whatever this is between us." Lorenzo froze. Raphael raised his eyebrows. "Elena, trust me," Valerio noticed before either of you did. Lorenzo shot him a venomous glare. Raphael shrugged. "You're predictable when you fall." Lorenzo stiffened. "I don't fall." Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "Then what is this?" He turned to her. And something inside him broke, not with weakness, but with the weight of truth. His eyes softened in a way that made Elena's breath stop. "Elena," he murmured, voice deep and unsteady. "I would burn the world for you." Her lips parted. Emotion surged so deeply she couldn't even name it, fear, longing, shock, something else entirely. Raphael clapped his hands once, hard. "Wonderful. Emotional breakthroughs. But if we're going to survive the night, we need a plan. Lorenzo tore his gaze from Elena and moved to the map, his mind snapping back into tactical mode. Raphael pointed to the estate blueprint spread across the table. We tightened security around the perimeter. 2 guards every 20 feet. Snipers on every tower. Reinforce the main entrance, and seal off the east corridor. Lorenzo shook his head. Not enough. We also. Not enough, Lorenzo repeated, harsher now. Valerio doesn't attack like a soldier. He attacks like a nightmare. He looks for cracks where men don't expect them. And what do you suggest? Raphael asked. Lorenzo pointed to a narrow corridor marked in red. The servants' tunnel. It hasn't been used in years. Raphael's eyes widened. You think he'll try to infiltrate from underground? That's insane. That's Valerio, Lorenzo said. Elena's heart pounded. And me, she whispered. Where will I be while all of this happens? Lorenzo turned, his expression shifting, from killer to protector. You'll be in the panic room. She stiffened instantly. No. I'm not hiding in a box while you're out there fighting. Elena, he warned softly. No, she repeated, her voice shaking but strong. I won't let you go alone. I won't sit in the dark wondering if you're alive or. He crossed the room in 2 steps, taking her by the shoulders. I will come back, he said fiercely. You don't have to wonder. I will come back. I will fight harder knowing you're safe. But what if? Elena. His voice broke. Actually broke. She froze. His forehead lowered until it rested against hers, breaths mingling, hearts pounding against each other's chests. I cannot fight if I'm worrying about you, he whispered. I can't breathe if I think you're in danger. I need you safe. I need you protected. I need you alive. Her eyes softened painfully. Lorenzo. His thumb brushed her cheek in a way that made her heart tighten dangerously. That panic room is the safest place in the entire estate, he said. No one has ever broken into it. Not even my father in his strongest days. And what if Valerio tries? She murmured. Lorenzo's voice dropped to a whisper, dark and deadly. Then he dies before he reaches the door. Raphael coughed. And on a practical note, the panic room has cameras, panic buttons, and a direct line to us. You won't be blind. You won't be alone. Elena looked down, trembling. Lorenzo lifted her chin gently. Elena, he whispered, trust me. Her voice cracked. I do. More than I should. He closed his eyes for a moment. Like her words had hit a place inside him he didn't know how to protect. Then he opened them and nodded to Raphael. Prepare the guards. Raphael bowed his head in understanding. And Lorenzo, he said. Yes? Be careful. Lorenzo didn't respond. He didn't have to. He walked to the door, muscles tense, every breath heavy with purpose. Elena followed. He turned, stopping her with a hand against her waist. Not forceful. Not possessive. Just, needing to feel her there. Go with Raphael, he said. Wait in the safe room. I'll come to you when it's over. She blinked back tears. Promise me. He stepped closer, lowering his forehead to hers again. I promise, he whispered. Then he kissed her forehead softly, a touch so gentle she almost broke. Elena, he added, voice barely a breath, I'll come back. For you. She wanted to say the words she felt. But fear held her tongue. Raphael touched her arm gently. Elena. It's time. She nodded, tears falling silently. Lorenzo watched her go, every step away from him felt like a knife. Every second apart felt like a countdown. Elena disappeared down the hallway. Lorenzo turned toward the main doors of his estate. His face hardened. His hand tightened around his weapon. His heart burned. Tonight. Valerio came for the woman he cared for. Tonight. Lorenzo would go to war. The deeper Raphael led Elena into the mansion, the colder the air became. Not physically, no. Emotionally. Every step she took away from Lorenzo felt like a piece of her was being peeled off. The walls narrowed around her, echoing with her heartbeat. She kept glancing over her shoulder, hoping, praying, for one last look at him before he disappeared into the night. But he was already gone. Not gone from the estate. Gone into preparation. Into war. Raphael walked ahead, checking corners, scanning hallways, his expression serious. "You're trembling," he said without looking back. "I'm trying not to," Elena whispered. He slowed a little. "You're doing better than most people would. Better than I expected." "That doesn't make me feel better," she murmured, hugging her arms. Raphael huffed a soft laugh. "You care about him." Elena stiffened. Raphael continued, not unkindly. "And he cares about you so much it's almost painful to watch. I've known Lorenzo a long time, and trust me, he doesn't look at anyone the way he looks at you." Elena's throat tightened. "I never asked for this," she whispered. "No one asks for love," Raphael replied. "It just happens. Usually at the worst time." She stopped walking. Her voice wavered. "I'm not ready to lose him." Raphael turned to look at her properly. "Elena," he said, softer now, "Lorenzo won't die tonight. You can't know that." "I do," Raphael said firmly. "Because he has something to live for now. Something stronger than the blood oath, stronger than the syndicate, stronger than the war." Her eyes glistened. "What?" Raphael placed a hand over his heart. "You." Elena looked away, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. They continued walking, past locked doors, reinforced corridors, and heavy steel barriers that looked like they belonged in a military bunker. Guards stood at every intersection, stepping aside respectfully when they saw Raphael. Finally, they reached a thick steel door set into a concrete wall. "This is it," Raphael said. Elena wiped her tears with trembling fingers. "The panic room?" "Yes." He pressed his palm against a biometric scanner. "Strongest place in the entire estate. Bomb-proof. Fireproof. Impenetrable." The door slid open. Inside was a spacious chamber, nothing like the tiny, claustrophobic box she'd imagined. Soft lighting. Reinforced walls. A secure communication console. Monitors showing live footage of the entire estate. A couch. A small kitchenette. A bathroom. And, shockingly, a warmth she didn't expect. "This looks normal," she whispered. Raphael gave a half-smile. "Lorenzo doesn't believe in cages. Even safe ones." He stepped inside and motioned for her to follow. She didn't move. Her voice trembled. "Raphael, what if something happens to him while I'm locked in here? What if I never see him again?" Raphael stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Elena, look at me." She met his eyes. "Lorenzo Marconí has walked into gunfire and come out alive. He survived car bombs, betrayals, ambushes, and wars. He fights like he has death on a leash." He paused. "But tonight, he fights for you. And that makes him unstoppable." She swallowed hard. "I'm scared." "I know." Raphael squeezed her shoulder gently. "And that's okay." She stepped into the room slowly, each step heavy with dread. Raphael stayed by the door. "You'll see everything from here," he said, pointing to the screens. "If anything moves outside your room, alarms go off. If Lorenzo needs you, he'll appear on that monitor." Elena stared at the many screens, guards patrolling, snipers scanning rooftops, men locking down gates. It was surreal. Terrifying. Unreal. "And Valerio?" she whispered. "He won't get inside," Raphael said. "Not through force." Elena turned to him sharply. "What do you mean?" Raphael hesitated. "Elena. Valerio's not coming to break in." "Then what is he doing?" Raphael exhaled. "He's coming to provoke Lorenzo. From the outside. With words. With threats. With psychological warfare." Her stomach dropped. "He wants Lorenzo to make a mistake." "Yes. And if he does?" Raphael didn't answer. Instead, he stepped out of the panic room. "Elena, I'll be right outside this door," he said. "You're not alone." The door began to close. "Raphael, wait." He paused. She whispered, "Please, keep him safe." Raphael nodded once. "As long as I live." The door shut. A lock clicked. Elena was alone. She slid down to the floor, her bag falling beside her, her breath trembling uncontrollably. She stared at the security monitors, at the men preparing, at the guards taking positions, at the dark forest beyond the walls. And then one monitor flickered. Camera 12. North wall. A silhouette appeared at the edge of the forest. Elena's blood ran cold. Tall. Still. Watching. No guards had seen him yet. Her breath hitched. Oh God. The figure stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. Just enough that moonlight touched his face. Elena's stomach turned to ice. She whispered his name, barely audible. "Valerio." He stared directly into the camera. Directly at her. A small, cold smile curved his lips. Then he lifted a device. A radio. And a chilling voice crackled through the speakers of the panic room. "Lorenzo Marconí. Come out and face me. Or I burn the whole city to ashes." Elena clasped her hands over her mouth, tears streaming. The estate alarms blared. Guards scrambled. Lights flared across the walls. Lorenzo burst onto the main camera, fury burning through every line of his face. Elena pressed her palm against the screen. "Lorenzo, no." He lifted his gun. Stepped forward. A king walking into a battlefield. For her, the estate erupted. Alarms blared across the grounds. Lights snapped on in blinding intensity. Guards poured into formation like a rising tide of steel. And at the center of it all, Lorenzo. He stood at the top of the marble steps that led to the mansion's front courtyard, the wind pulling at his coat, his jaw sharpened with fury. His eyes locked onto the shadow at the forest's edge. "Valerio." Elena watched from inside the panic room, her hands pressed against the cold glass of the monitor as though her touch could somehow reach him. Her pulse hammered as she whispered. "Lorenzo, please don't go closer." But he didn't hear her. Or maybe he did. In the way a man feels someone's fear without needing to hear their voice. His eyes flickered for a moment, almost as if he sensed her watching. Then they hardened. Valerio stepped out from the tree lean, moving into the open. The moonlight revealed his face, sharp, elegant, sculpted by cruelty. A man who reveled in chaos. A man who believed he owned death. He held the radio loosely in one hand. The other hand was empty, to show he feared nothing. Lorenzo descended the steps slowly, deliberately. Raphael shouted behind him from the steps. Lorenzo. Stop. He wants you exposed. But Lorenzo kept walking. Guards lined behind him, guns raised, forming a shield of bodies. Snipers took position on the walls. Every weapon pointed toward the man who dared challenge the Marconí king. Valerio laughed, a low, amused sound that made Elena's skin crawl. So this is how the great Lorenzo Marconí greets his guests, Valerio said, spreading his arms. With an army. Lorenzo's voice carried across the courtyard, cold and lethal. You're not a guest. True, Valerio replied lightly. I'm a promise you failed to keep. Raphael hissed a curse under his breath. Elena pressed closer to the screen, wishing she could scream at Lorenzo to turn back. Valerio walked closer. Every guard tensed. Every gun tightened. But Lorenzo lifted a hand, a subtle gesture, and all weapons lowered. Elena's breath hitched. Why would he? No. Lorenzo, don't. Raphael stepped forward a pace, whispering harshly to Lorenzo. What are you doing? Ending this, Lorenzo murmured. Valerio smiled wider, like a wolf. You've grown careless, Lorenzo. You let your emotions compromise you. You let a woman compromise you. Lorenzo didn't flinch. But Elena did. Valerio continued, enjoying every second of his monologue. That girl, what's her name? Elena? His smile sharpened. Pretty. Fragile. Terrified. She doesn't belong here, Lorenzo. But you made her a target the moment you stepped into her little flower shop. Lorenzo's jaw clenched so hard Elena feared he would break his teeth. Say her name again, Lorenzo warned. And I'll start carving pieces from you while you're still breathing. Valerio laughed softly. There he is, he whispered. The Lorenzo I wanted. The one who finally has something to lose. Lorenzo took another step forward. Raphael stepped beside him, eyes flicking nervously. Easy, he whispered. Lorenzo, think. Valerio tilted his head. You're out of time, he said. Hand her over. Elena felt as though the floor tilted beneath her. Lorenzo's eyes darkened with such intensity the camera pixelated. Never. Valerio lifted the radio. Then your city burns. He clicked a button. Across the estate screens, Elena watched as several explosions ignited across distant roads, small detonations, warning blasts. Not enough to kill. Just enough to terrorize. Elena gasped. Oh God. Raphael cursed. Damn it, he set charges. Valerio's voice echoed through the radio again. 1 hour. Bring me the girl. Alone. Or I bring the war to your doorstep. Lorenzo stepped forward with a dangerous calm that made even Raphael glance sideways. You want Elena? Lorenzo said. You walk through me. Valerio smiled. I intend to. He turned, walking back into the shadows as though strolling into a garden instead of a battlefield. Raphael grabbed Lorenzo's arm. Don't. But Lorenzo shook him off, eyes blazing. Let him go. He wants the chase. He wants fear. He wants chaos. Raphael exhaled sharply. And he's about to get it. Elena pressed trembling fingers to her lips, tears spilling. Lorenzo turned back toward the mansion. His guards parted instantly, creating a path as he ascended the steps. He climbed slower this time, not from weakness, but from fury building with every step. When he reached the top, he paused and looked directly into the camera. Into her. For the first time, Elena felt it. He wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at her. Through walls. Through steel. Through fear. Through distance. And he whispered, soft enough that only she could hear it through the panic room speakers. Elena. I'm coming to you. Her knees nearly buckled. A few moments later, the door to the panic room jolted. She turned sharply, heart racing. Raphael's voice sounded from the hall. Elena, it's us. Open it. She unlocked it quickly, and the steel door slid aside. Lorenzo stepped inside. The moment she saw him, her control shattered. Lorenzo, she whispered, her voice breaking. He closed the distance in 3 steps. His hands cupped her face, his forehead pressed to hers, his breath shaky with adrenaline. I saw everything, she whispered, tears falling. He wants to hurt you. He wants to hurt us. Lorenzo pulled her into his chest, arms wrapping tightly around her. His voice was low, trembling with the force of his rage and fear. He will not lay a finger on you. He will not touch your life. He will not breathe your name again. She clutched his coat. But the explosions. Warnings, Lorenzo murmured. He wants to scare us. He wants to break us. Elena sobbed softly. What will you do? Lorenzo lifted her chin gently. What I should have done years ago. Her breath hitched. You're going after him. Yes. Her knees weakened. But Lorenzo. What if he kills you? He pressed his forehead deeper into hers. Elena, he whispered, I am not dying tonight. How can you know that? He closed his eyes, voice trembling with a truth he had buried for too long. Because for the first time in my life, I have something to live for. Her tears spilled onto his hands. And if he tries to take you away from me? His voice grew darker. Colder. A king awakening. He will learn what it means to fear. She swallowed hard. What do you need me to do? He cupped her cheek. Stay here. Stay safe. Stay alive. She grabbed his wrist, desperate. Lorenzo, promise me you'll come back. He leaned in. Not kissing her lips. Not yet. But kissing her forehead with a tenderness that broke her heart. I promise, he whispered. Raphael cleared his throat behind them. It's time. Lorenzo pulled away slowly, as if it hurt him to leave her. His last words before stepping out. No matter what happens. I will find you. Elena's voice cracked. And I'll be here. The door slid shut. Leaving her alone. But not alone. Because for the first time, she knew. This wasn't just survival. This wasn't just fear. This was love forged in fire. And tonight, it would be tested in blood. The steel door sealed shut behind Lorenzo with a heavy, echoing thud, a sound that felt far too final inside Elena's chest. She pressed her palms flat against the cold metal, her forehead resting against it as her breath hitched. He was gone again. Out there. Facing a monster who had already changed both of their lives forever. Please be safe, she whispered into the quiet. But the panic room didn't answer. It only reflected her tremors back at her through the screen, showing Lorenzo and Raphael disappearing down the corridor. Elena wiped her eyes and forced herself to stand taller. If Lorenzo was fighting for her, she needed to be strong enough to wait for him. She walked back toward the screens, the dozens of monitors showing the estate in real time, every angle, every guard, every tower. Somewhere beyond those walls was Valerio. Somewhere beyond the cameras was the man she feared and hated in equal measure. And somewhere on those screens, Lorenzo. The thought tightened her chest. A faint voice crackled from the speaker, static at first, then a familiar voice. Elena? Can you hear me? She inhaled sharply. Raphael? Yes, he answered from outside the panic room. I'm tapping into the intercom. I want you to listen carefully, all right? She nodded even though he couldn't see her. Lorenzo's voice came next. Deeper, steadier, but filled with tension she could feel through the static. Elena. I'm heading to the war room. Her heart jumped. Lorenzo. I'm not leaving the estate, he cut in gently. Not yet. She exhaled shakily. Raphael continued, we'll be monitoring every movement Valerio makes. Every whisper. Every breath. You'll see it too in there. Elena looked at the screens. Camera 7, guards reinforcing the main gate. Camera 14, snipers moving across the east wall. Camera 3. Lorenzo striding toward a secured steel door on the mansion's lower floor. She felt something tighten inside her. Something protective. Something possessive. Be careful, she whispered. Lorenzo's reply was quiet but filled with warmth. I will. Then the line cut. Elena sank onto the sofa in the panic room, staring at the monitors like lifelines. The war room. Below the mansion's east wing, Lorenzo and Raphael entered a heavily reinforced chamber, the war room. A place most of the syndicate didn't even know existed. Concrete walls. Bulletproof glass. A table covered in screens, maps, coded documents. A giant screen showing Valerio's last known position. Guards rose instantly when Lorenzo walked in. Sir. Lorenzo nodded, eyes already scanning the digital map of the city. His fingers tapped the table sharply. Zoom in on the north perimeter. A tech specialist obeyed immediately. The image sharpened to Valerio near the tree line. Still standing, still waiting, like a man who thought himself untouchable. Raphael muttered, arrogant bastard. Lorenzo's jaw tensed. He thinks I'll walk out there. Alone. Aren't you? Raphael asked. Lorenzo shot him a look. Raphael smirked. Right. Stupid question. Lorenzo leaned forward, eyes burning. Has he made any movement? No, sir, a guard answered. He's waiting. Of course he is, Lorenzo said. He wants me to come to him. Raphael crossed his arms. The question is. Why tonight? Lorenzo didn't answer. Because he already knew. Valerio wasn't playing for leverage anymore. He wasn't trying to intimidate. He wasn't pulling strings in the shadows. This was different. This was personal. A direct challenge. One king to another. And Elena was at the center of it. Lorenzo turned to the guards. Is everything reinforced? Yes, sir. The tunnels? Sealed. The security systems? Online and fully encrypted. Lorenzo nodded slowly. But something still felt off. Raphael saw the tension in his shoulders. What is it? It's too quiet, Lorenzo murmured. Valerio isn't a man who stands still. He doesn't wait unless he has a guarantee. Raphael frowned. What guarantee? That I'll come out. Raphael rolled his eyes. And I assume he won't get that. No, Lorenzo said. He won't. But as he spoke, another thought flickered through his mind, dark and heavy. Valerio had left a note inside the estate's walls. Someone had helped him. A traitor. And traitors were more dangerous than armies. In the panic room. Elena watched Lorenzo on the main screen, his expression a mask of iron, his steps sharp, his mind calculating every possibility. She'd never seen him like this. Cold. Precise. Deadly. A man born for war. And yet, when he looked at the camera, at her, even for a heartbeat, his expression softened in a way that shattered her. She whispered to herself. Please come back. Please. Then something caught her eye. Camera 22. South Corridor. A guard, moving strangely. Too slowly. Too intent on not looking at the cameras. Elena leaned closer, her breath catching. That's odd. She recognized him vaguely. He'd been near the entrance earlier. But something about his movement made her spine tingle. Suddenly, he stopped. And looked up. Directly into the camera. Into her. Elena froze. His expression was wrong. Too still. Too cold. Then. He smiled. A slow, chilling smile. Her heart dropped. No, no, no. The guard reached into his coat. Elena's stomach twisted as he pulled something out. A small device. A signal jammer. Her breath broke. Lorenzo, please see this. She slammed her hand on the intercom button. Raphael. Lorenzo. Someone is inside the South Corridor, he's tampering with the static. The line crackled violently. Then. Silence. The monitors flickered for a brief moment. Elena's pulse skyrocketed. Please, no. She tried again. Lorenzo. Raphael. There's a traitor. Nothing. The panic room went eerily quiet. Then. Boom. A muffled explosion shook the estate. Dust fell from the ceiling. The cameras glitched. Red emergency lights flashed. Elena stumbled forward, gripping the side of the table. Her breath came out in broken sobs. Oh God. Lorenzo. Lorenzo, please be okay. Another explosion thundered through the ground. The lights flickered again. Elena pressed both hands to her mouth. Raphael's voice burst through the intercom at last. Elena, stay where you are. Don't move. Raphael. Lorenzo, where? Elena, he shouted. Valerio is inside the estate. Her knees buckled. Inside. Inside the fortress. Inside the place Lorenzo swore was impenetrable. Her heart shattered. And through the glitching cameras, through the smoke, through the chaos, she saw a figure step into the South Corridor, the traitor disappearing behind him. Tall. Smooth. Smiling. Valerio. He lifted his head slowly. And looked into the camera. Into her eyes. His lips curved. Found you. Elena screamed. The break-in. The scream tore itself from Elena's throat before she could stop it. Valerio's face filled the screen, smooth, cruel, lit by the faint emergency lights flickering through the corridor. He stared into the camera with an expression that was not rushed, not frantic. Enjoying himself. He lifted a hand and pressed a finger to his lips. A silent message. Quiet, little flower. Elena backed away from the screen, breath shuddering, heart slamming so violently it echoed in her bones. No, 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 she whispered, pressing her back against the panic room wall. How had he gotten inside? How did he breach Lorenzo's fortress? How was he walking the corridors like a ghost? The answer was one she feared. The traitor. Someone inside Lorenzo's ranks, someone trusted, opened the door. On the monitor, Valerio walked slowly, confidently. A predator savoring the final steps before his kill. He lifted the radio to his lips. Lorenzo, he purred, you're late. Elena felt the floor vibrate beneath her, footsteps in the mansion above, heavy and urgent. Men shouting. The estate coming alive in chaos. The intercom crackled. Elena. Raphael's voice was frantic. Don't move. We're coming. But her voice cracked through the static. Valerio is inside. He's inside. Raphael swore violently. Elena, is the lock still functional? Yes, she gasped. I think so. Good. Don't touch it. Don't open it. Don't make a sound. We're coming. The line cut. Elena stood trembling in the center of the panic room. Then. A faint sound. Footsteps, approaching. Slow. Deliberate. Echoing down the corridor leading to her. She clamped both hands over her mouth. Her body shook uncontrollably. No. Not here. Not him. Not now. Valerio's shadow appeared on camera 27, the feed showing the hallway outside the panic room. He was close. Too close. Elena stepped back until her shoulders hit the far wall. On the monitor, Valerio ran his fingers along the steel door. As expected, he murmured, smiling. Lorenzo always did enjoy cages for precious things. Elena's breath caught. Valerio leaned close to the camera, as though whispering directly into her ear. You can hear me, can't you? Elena squeezed her eyes shut. He continued. You think this door will save you? His smile widened. It won't. Suddenly. A gunshot. Valerio turned sharply. Raphael's voice thundered from off-screen. Step away from that door. Another shot. Valerio dodged, slipping behind a pillar with inhuman speed. More guards rushed into frame. Elena clung to the monitor, tears streaming. The gunfire intensified, sharp, deafening, ricocheting off steel. And then. A new voice. Deep. Violent. Terrifying in the most beautiful way. Valerio. Elena's breath broke. Lorenzo. He stepped into frame, gun raised, expression carved from stone. Valerio stepped out from behind the pillar, applauding slowly. About time, he said. Lorenzo took one step forward. Get away from her. Valerio laughed. Or what? Lorenzo's voice was a low growl. I'll end you. Valerio twirled his gun lazily. I'd like to see you try. Gunshots exploded. Raphael dragged men behind cover. Valerio dove for position. Lorenzo advanced like a storm. And inside the panic room, Elena sobbed into her hands. Please, please win. Gunfire shattered the corridor. Valerio moved like a serpent, quick, precise, always one step ahead. Lorenzo pursued with deadly focus, forcing him deeper into the estate, away from the panic room. Raphael shouted into his earpiece. Team Bravo, flank from the west. Corner him. But Valerio laughed as he dodged. You think numbers help you, Raphael? You think anyone here can stop me? Lorenzo fired again. This time, a hit. A bullet grazed Valerio's shoulder. He hissed, clutching the wound. Lorenzo advanced, voice low. You bleed after all. Valerio smirked. I bleed less than you think. Another shot. This one hit a guard. Screams erupted. Valerio sprinted down the hall, firing behind him. Lorenzo followed without hesitation. Lorenzo, wait. Raphael tried to grab him. But Lorenzo tore free. He wasn't thinking like a Mafia leader anymore. He wasn't calculating, careful, or strategic. He was a man protecting the woman he loved. Elena's sobs echoed softly in the panic room as she watched. On screen, Valerio reached the mansion's grand hall. The perfect battlefield. Wide. Open. Deadly. He turned with a grin. You came alone, Lorenzo. Always the hero. Lorenzo stepped forward, gun steady. You won't touch her. Valerio laughed coldly. Everything you love, I take. Lorenzo's eyes burned. You took my brother. You took my peace. You took my life. He raised his gun. You won't take her. Valerio's smirk twisted. You already lost. A second figure stepped out of the shadows. The traitor. Lorenzo's heart slammed. You. The man smiled. Sorry, boss. But Valerio pays better. He pointed a gun directly at Lorenzo's back. Elena screamed into the empty panic room. No. A gunshot shook the hall. But Raphael tackled the traitor from behind, the bullet firing harmlessly into the ceiling. Chaos exploded. Lorenzo lunged. Valerio fired. The traitor screamed. Raphael struggled. Glass shattered. And then. A single shot. Silence. Valerio froze, staring down at his chest, a small bloom of red spreading across his shirt. He looked up slowly at Lorenzo, disbelief flickering. You, he whispered. Lorenzo's gun smoked. He stepped forward, voice cold as ice. This is for my brother. Another step. And this. Another bullet. Is for Elena. Valerio collapsed. The war was over. Raphael shoved the traitor to the ground, disarming him. Lorenzo didn't look at anyone. He ran. Toward the panic room. Toward her. Elena paced the panic room, trembling so severely she could barely breathe. Every second felt like a lifetime. Every footstep outside made her jump. Every flicker on the monitor made her heart race. Then. The corridor camera showed him. Lorenzo. Running. Breathing hard. Blood on his shirt, some his, some not. Her entire body broke with a sob. Lorenzo, please, come to me. He reached the steel door. Banged his hand against it. Elena. Open it. She sprinted to the panel with shaking fingers, slamming the release. The door slid open. And Lorenzo caught her in his arms before she could even speak. She collapsed against him, sobbing into his chest. He held her so tightly it almost hurt. Elena, God, Elena, are you hurt? She shook her head violently. No, no, I'm not, I'm okay, I'm okay. His hands cupped the back of her head, his breath shaking as he kissed her hair, her temple, her forehead. I thought I lost you, he whispered. I thought. If he touched you, I would die. She clung to him harder. I was so scared, she cried. Lorenzo, He pulled her face up to his. His forehead pressed to hers. Say it, he whispered. Her breath caught. He waited. She whispered, voice trembling. I love you. Lorenzo froze. Emotion hit him like a blow. His hands cupped her face with a tenderness she'd never felt from anyone. Elena, he whispered, I love you more than my life. Then he kissed her. Not gentle. Not careful. A kiss full of fear, relief, adrenaline, devotion. A kiss that said he would burn the world for her. A kiss that promised he never would let her go again. She melted into him, arms wrapping around his neck, tears mixing with the kiss. He pulled her closer, as though anchoring his soul to hers. You're safe, he whispered against her lips. It's over. He's gone. Her voice broke. You came back. I always will. Days passed. The estate repaired its walls. Guards strengthened their positions. The traitor was arrested. Valerio's syndicate collapsed. Peace, real peace, settled for the first time in years. Lorenzo kept Elena close. Always near him. Always protected. Always cherished. She returned to her flower shop, rebuilt by Lorenzo's men. Safer than ever. One evening, she sat on the shop floor arranging lilies when Lorenzo walked in quietly and knelt beside her. She looked up, smiling. "You're early. I missed you." She blushed softly. He took her hand. "Elena," he said gently, "I've lived my life in darkness. In blood. In war. But you." He lifted her hand to his lips. "You gave me something worth living for." Her eyes softened. "And you gave me something worth loving." He exhaled slowly. "I don't want to hide you anymore. I don't want to fear losing you. I want a life with you. A future." She blinked. "Lorenzo, what are you saying?" He reached into his coat. Pulled out a small velvet box. Elena gasped. He opened it. A ring. Simple. Elegant. Stunning. "Elena," he whispered, "will you be mine? Not out of fear. Not out of danger. But out of love." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Lorenzo. I'm already yours." He pulled her into his arms, lifting her off the ground, spinning her in circles as she laughed and cried. The nightmare was over. The war was ended. The shadows were gone. And for the first time in their lives, they were free. Together. Forever.